Time now to look at the future of data management and integration, and we have a great guest for you. His name is Amine Boulçane, forgive me, a consultant for Southern Europe and the Middle East for Denodo, and he has more than a decade's worth of experience working with major companies to unlock more value from data. Please give him a warm welcome to the stage.
Today there is a big task for me is to replace our friend Alexei, who is a little bit sick today. So I'm here on the stage to replace him. He's 20 years experienced in data, a PhD in mathematics and data science. So be gentle with me, the task is not easy. So to introduce myself a little bit, so I'm leading the consulting here in Southern Europe and the Middle East for Denodo. Prior to that, I was working for an investment bank. I was in Singapore, and I was leading a team of 50-plus people who are data engineer, data scientists, data analysts, and so on. And one of my latest topics was to build up the data hub for the company, where we leveraged Denodo technology to do that. And I joined Denodo. And prior to that, I was also working for Accenture for the consulting. So I worked for 10 years in the consulting, and that's where I'm coming from today. And if in any case you have someone has been in the stage before with slides that are not yours, pitching them in like a nice audience like that, you know how I do feel now. If you never did it, don't do it. It sounds easy and doable, but when you come to the stage here, you have a strong heart. Today we are going to speak about the concept of data gravity. So why we are doing data management? That's the first question. We are doing data management not for the sake of managing the data for the fun. Well, of course, we are doing it for business. We are doing it because we would like to make business having access to the data, the right data at the right time, in one place, if possible. So this is what we were trying to do for years and decades, so to help our businesses leveraging the data for decision-making and for all the insight needed for the competition and to build up the activity. So for years, what has been done is basically we try to always pull the data from all the places and put them in one place. We start with a small use case, and we keep adding up, till it becomes a very big data store, or very big, I would say, component that it's holding most of the data. So if you go like for 90s, I was that young, still young that time, Inman and Campbell come up with the concept of data warehouse. And but back then, what was happening is that the silos of data were per application. So we have one application, with the data of the application, and you do the reporting on that. And the data warehouse came up to break this application silos, to historize the data, consolidate the data, and put them in one place. So that's how the journey started. It was, at that time, the data was still small, structured, much structured, and the data warehouse were fulfilling I would say the needs of reporting and analytics very gratefully, and this is what we were doing as data experts for years. Then what happens in the last decade, I would say, the format of data has changed. It's not structured anymore. We have semi-structured and structured. We have all kinds of data. The data is bigger. We have data coming from sensors everywhere. So data warehouse come up to basically a limitation where we needed something else. So that's where the data lake came to the picture. The data lake, of course, you know how does it work. It's same concept. We put everything inside. We even have examples in our customers where the data warehouse has been copied into the data lake. So we are following the same gravity principle. We're basically trying to bring all the data, larger than before, more complex, into one single store again. And nowadays, what's going on again is that we are we are going to the cloud. So this is what most of the customers are doing. And again, we are going to one single database in this cloud or one repository in the cloud with one vendor. And then we are repeating the same data gravity concept again and again and again. But the reality is data is not sitting in one place, cannot sit in one place by concept. You put one data warehouse, one department is happy, the next one we do the same thing. So when you go to like several years back, I don't see any company having only one enterprise data warehouse. They started, they successfully made it, but data warehouses are popping left and right because there are some challenges of organization, there are some challenges of performance, of technology, whatever, or organization, so we cannot have data sitting everywhere. Similar example for the data lake. Data lake, you started with enterprise data lake, and what we end up seeing is maybe it's one physical data lake, but inside it's structured as multiple data lake, or even we have seen multiple data lakes in some customers as well. And of course, for the cloud, it doesn't make a lot of sense to say one customer, one cloud. All the customers are trying to have multi-clouds because there are different pros and cons for each vendor. We don't want to be locked with one cloud because the market is changing a lot, technology is evolving a lot, the pricing is changing, so we don't want to be with one specific cloud. So at the end, the reality is that data will never sit in one place. That's a fact. I don't find any company that has one single store that has all the data. It's undoable. So what does it mean? It means that the concept that we believed in for years of having all the data sitting in one place, which we call data gravity, is by design not working because data by itself, it's starting to be disparate and being in different places. So I would say here is the 2022 today, this is where we are sitting. So basically you have data in multi-clouds, you have still your relational databases that are doing a lot of nice things and doing a great job. Your analytical data warehouse, data lake, they are there, they are different, they are doing different things with different ways, different technologies, different performances, different use cases, covering different use cases, still there. We still have some complex application that will never reside in one single relational database analytical. They have their own way of managing the data, their own API, their own, basically, data management, I would say, approach. And of course, we have the NoSQL database, GraphQL, time series database, and all those new format of data that we need also to bring into the analytical space or into our, I would say, data landscape because we need to get insight from this data as well. Of course, on the cloud, you have a lot of data sitting in the cloud. It's the same data as what we used before, and it will be there. We cannot have all our data on the cloud for sure. We will still have always some on-premises data. So we will always have those separation between on-premises and the cloud, whatever happens, for security reason, for political reason, for whatever, it's always be there. So at the end, we will never be ending all this data sitting in one place together. So now we go back to the initial question. We are doing data management. How can we put all this data again in one place so that the consumer can get the data, the right one, right now, without any, I would say, lack of refreshness like we find in the data lake on data warehouse. It's usually day -1 or whatever. Here we try to get the data, the best data, with the best quality, in the right time, with the best performance. So that's the question we are having today because we cannot keep copying the data. There is no superstar in the market today where we can put everything. So this is where Denodo comes to the picture. So how we look at it is you will always have, as I said, all those data sources. Cloud, relational database, data lakes, operational databases, NoSQL databases, GraphQL, whatever. And you will still need to have your user connected to one place to do reporting, to build up AI model and running them, to share the data with external users or other departments, to do some data analysis, to build up your own data, combine and do whatever you want using the same tool. So this is where Denodo comes to the picture. And to do that, we are not replicating the data again. That's where the concept of data virtualization comes to the picture. So what does the data virtualization do? So basically, if you look at Denodo, it has a lot of fancy features that enables the consumer, the users, to search for the data, find it, discover it, profile the data, do a lot of fancy things before consuming the data. But I would say a company like Denodo, the heart of their R&D is to build up the engine capable of accessing the data, all this heterogeneous data, I would say, in the best way. So the performance is key here because we are not replicating the data in one store. We don't have a hold on the performance as like one platform. We rely on the performance of the queries that we generate and we send to those existing data stores. So what happened with data virtualization is that we create basically an abstraction layer on all those sources together. So we have connectors to more than 150, I would say, mainstream data source on the market, and we can have also a custom wrapper that can connect to anything almost on the market, any technology, by the way. So here we connect. So we have one layer that abstracts everything, so it becomes one single logical database, but without any smartness. And this is where Denodo brings up the designer studio. So basically, we start building up what we call a semantic layer. So here you start creating association between tables to explain what are basically the joins that you can make between those objects. And you start enriching the metadata, building indexes, whatever you want. But the idea here is to make this semantic layer, I would say, your output for the consumer to consume this data without understanding at all what is behind the scene from physical layer. So Denodo here, of course, when he brings this data modeling feature, we bring a lot of things as well. Because as I told you, the core feature is about performance. We have a lot of features that enable us to be capable of competing with the performance with the data that is stored in one place. And we are competing. We are not that. There is a myth about Denodo. It's very slow. I was a customer. I thought that. I was scared. We ran POCs left, right. We did all the possibilities. Yes, there are some weaknesses in some places, but it's serious. It works. And on top of that, we have a feature that basically bring the two words together, the virtual one and the physical one, which is what we call caching. So we can cache the data inside Denodo or any source underlying to Denodo so that we can behave like an ETL with the data warehouse in case if needed. For example, if your operational system is not available in the morning, we can basically cache the data we want in Denodo or outside in the analytical database next to the operational data store, and we can use it on behalf of the real store. So there are a lot of features that helps to basically operationalize this data virtualization at the enterprise scale. Security-wise, we have whatever is needed on the column, on the table, on the row, on the tag. So we can manage security in a way that we cover, I would say till now I've seen 100% of the use case that we have in the market. We can do data masking and all those features. We can monitor the queries. We can understand what the people are doing. We can have even AI data model that are capable of understanding which data should be aggregated in the morning because we know that the users are doing that. And this is fully automated, so that we don't need to do anything. We can also recommend for the users which data they want, because based on the colleagues, we know that this data, if he's using this data set also might be interesting for him. So we recommend that we pop it out for him automatically. So there are a lot of features that will enhance the experience of the users while connecting to this engine of data virtualization that can bring all this data. I can spend a lot of time explaining all the features. I think for the sake of time, I will avoid to do that. But yeah, please feel free to ask if you have any other questions about that. Yes. So here, I'm just going to give you a couple of examples of use cases of what is the modern data architectures that we see. Here, we have the real-time application integration. So this is something that I've experienced myself in previous life, and we see a lot of customers doing that. Very simple use case. You have your operational data stores. They have data moving in real time. People are clicking, workflows are running, and you want to see what's going on a dashboard. So data warehouse doesn't work. You can be near real time because your batch are very fast and you can run them like every 5 minutes or 10 minutes or whatever. But if you would like to have real time, data virtualization can help you do that because we have the connectors to most of these technologies, and when the users click to get the data, that's where the journey started. Because when he clicks, we will run into the metadata, understand how the data is stored, generate the underlying queries for each source, combine them together, and bring it back to the users, and in a couple of milliseconds. So, well, Yes, so of course we can do any kind of sources on premises or on the cloud, whatever. It's the same thing, and yeah, that's a real enabler for Denodo for a lot of customers. We can have still the classic, I would say, use case, which is I would say the online analytical processing or logical analytical lakehouse, or you can find all the names you want here. The idea is very simple: bring all the data you have to one place so that the consumers can get the insight from wherever. And here you can have, of course, all the type of data as we've seen before. And we can even see the emerging one like streaming data generated by sensors and event-based. So those all things are being, I would say, enabled by Denodo to be consumed in an analytical landscape. Zero time? So I need to be fast. I don't have time anymore. Another interesting use case also that it's, I would say, for large organization, this is a key enabler, because what happened in the past in Data Warehouse, the silo of data was the applications. And then with all the technologies, Data Lake, Data Warehouse, we basically bring a new level of silo because we have more consolidated data, but still it's siloed. Technologically and organization perspective, it's siloed. So this is where a concept like data mesh comes to the picture, so that you enable people who are not holding the same data to share data. And Denodo, to be very fast and to shortcut, is a key enabler to do that, because we have all the, I would say, artifacts to enable the data to be connected from all the sources. We can build up a common data catalog. We can build up a common security, I would say, policy across an organization, across multiple organizations, so that they can share the data or the data product in a very efficient way. And this is one of the, I would say, the use case that we are having a lot with our customers today. So I don't know where to beep, so I'm beeping everywhere. Yes. And one of the, also the new trendy, I would say, use case also is the, I would say, knowledge graph analytics. And here what we are happening is like, imagine that you have all your data connected in a fancy way with the graphs. And so Denodo here enables you to basically get up your reference, the citizen registry. This is an example for government. And based on this information, you can reach out to all the data stores based on the graph, so that you can connect and understand all the data that's happening, what he has a disease, what he receives as pension, what crime he committed, and what electricity and car they are using, basically. So this is one of, I would say, a very high level, I would say, picture of the kind of use case we are covering with a technology like Denodo, and we are enabling, and I think the key message here is that we should stop thinking that the data gravity is the right concept. Data will never reside in one place, and you need tools like Denodo to be able to connect this data and keep the data where it is, because it's for sure the best place to keep it. That's all from me. If you have any question, you can ask Alexei. But please feel free if you have any question. I'm just kidding.